Let's continue exploring the universe within art and the art behind farming. I'm your host, Ledoux, and in this episode, we're going to build a nether-based gold farm. Now you may be wondering why we don't just use portal ticking for our gold farm, and that is because these cause a ton of problems. Not only are they super laggy for anyone playing on the world, but also they build up unresolvable pending ticks, which will slowly but surely corrupt your world. Or maybe you're just playing with fire spread turned off and you don't want to use tons and tons of flint and steel just to tick the portals. Or maybe you want the nether version so that you can connect it directly to a piggy trader and not have to gather all the gold and transport it between dimensions just to get some goodies. The core mechanic that allows this to work is that piggies really hate the turtle eggs. Any piggy within 11 blocks of an egg will stop at nothing to stomp on it, so we can use that to lure them in. I also spent quite a while trying to figure out a good sorting system that has auto crafting for the nuggets, so that all of the nuggets will automatically get crafted down into ingots to save a ton of space. So we'll be going over how to build this in the second half of the video. This is also equipped with automatic sword smelting. You should always smelt your swords from gold farms because that is 15 to 20% of your total gold. The max size version of this farm that has 4 spawning platforms will produce over 1300 gold per hour. And to visualize just how much gold comes from swords is this right here. 15 to 20% of your total gold will come from swords. This will also produce 2 double chests of flesh per hour, and you could even build this farm at half size and only reduce the rates by a couple of stacks. The rates for the half size version is about 1100 ingots per hour. A single platform will produce about 550 gold per hour, so building 2 platforms will double those rates, but building 4 of them only increases the rates by another 200. So it really just depends on how much work you want to put in. Now for this project, potions of fire resistance and invisibility will be your best friend. You know, fire resistance for falling into lava, and invisibility for keeping ghasts at bay. If you don't wear any armor and you drink a potion of invisibility, ghasts will totally ignore you. Now we will also need quite a large area that is spawn-proofed, so I would recommend finding a lava lake in which to build this in. But you could always slab an area or break it out. So whether or not you want to build over a lava lake, we just need a 100 by 100 area in another waste biome that is completely spawn-proofed. So 50 blocks in all directions, up, down, left, and right. For simplicity's sake, I would highly recommend finding a lava lake that is in a nether waste biome, so that you don't have to spawn-proof or break out a large area. A nether waste biome is the regular plain one that only has netherrack, doesn't have any particles in the air, none of that stuff. Just the regular old nether waste biome, and it needs again to be in an area that is about 100 by 100. If you want to just spawn-proof an area and not use a lava lake, then your Y coordinate won't really matter. But if we do want to build over a lava lake, we want to go to Y50. And we want to bridge out at Y50 right along a chunk border. Now there are a bunch of ways to find a chunk border, but the easiest one, in my opinion, is just by using math. In Bedrock, there are always chunk borders at multiples of 16 and multiples of 16 minus 1. So 560 and 544 are both multiples of 16. Then just subtracting 1 from both of those numbers will give us our other chunk corners. But you could always just use a resource or chunkbase.com. But we're going to pillar out right on a chunk border at Y50 and go ahead and drink your potion of invisibility so that ghasts don't knock you off. We need to pillar out either by using glass or lower half slabs. But if you use lower half slabs, your coordinate is going to say 49 because you're technically 1 block lower even though you're only a half a block lower. Either way, just pillar out to the center of the lake and then we need to find 4 chunk corners. The place where 4 chunks meet. Again, those coordinates will be multiples of 16 and multiples of 16 minus 1. And then we need to mark out 2 chunks in each direction. So again, the middle needs to be 4 chunk corners. Then we need to measure out 2 chunks in each direction and build all of this out of glass so that it is spawn-proof. Now we need to start building on the very last block of the second chunk from the center on any of the 4 sides. To visualize this, we can pull up this grid, and we can see that this right here is the very last block of this chunk, whereas the glass at the very end is the start of the 3rd chunks from the center. So on one of the last corners of the second chunk from the center, we need to go up by 46 scaffolding. And again, the scaffolding needs to be on the last block of the second chunk, not the first block of the third. But your Y coordinate from the top of the scaffolding should be 96. But we need to go to Y63, and that's where we're going to start building the platforms. So at Y63, place 2 magma that are aligned with the center of your chunk markers, so that when you're standing on this magma, your coordinate should say 63. Now we're going to go back by 12 more magma. So this magma will be 13 blocks long and 2 blocks wide. And remember that crouching on magma will protect you from the damage. But then here in the front, we need to go over by 4 magma on each side, and then fill this completely in, so that we will be left with a 10 by 13 platform made out of magma aligned with the center of our chunk markers. Then on one of the sides, starting at the front, we need to go over by 4 magma, and then skip 2, and then place 7 more, so that we will have a 2-block hole 4 blocks from the front. Then do the same thing on the other side. So again, 4 blocks from the front, then skip 2, then 7 more to fill out the platform. Now on the back side of one of these holes, we need to go out by 3 solid blocks, then turn and curve around like so. In the center of these blocks, we need an upper half slab with an open trapdoor on the side of that slab. Then we need 5 walls surrounding that slab, and then 2 blocks here in the front touching the walls. And you can use solid blocks instead of glass. Our turtle eggs are going to go on top of the slabs, so using glass will allow you to easily see the eggs to make sure that nothing is wrong with the farm. However, you can use solid blocks instead of glass if you think glass is expensive. But we are going to wait to place in our turtle eggs. Don't place those in just yet. But we do need 2 coral fans on the side of that magma in this hole, and then build the same thing on the other side. Again, we're going to place in our turtle eggs at the very end, just to make sure that piggies don't get aggroed and end up where they shouldn't be. It'll just save us some hassle by placing in the eggs later on. But once you've built your bait trap on both sides, now we need to extend the magma platform so that it goes 1 block behind what we just built. So 1 block behind our bait trap, our platform is still going to be rectangular. Now in the very center of our bait trap, on the center wall in that center block, we're going to go out by 8 more blocks, so that we have 9 magma extending from the solid blocks under the wall in the center out to the edge. And then we're going to connect this diagonally to both sides. So just go diagonally and connect this with both sides, and it will be slightly offset, because the center of our bait trap is not the center of our magma platform. So again, from the center of the walls, we need to go out by 9 magma, then connect that magma diagonally to each side and fill it in, so that you will be left with this kind of offset triangle at the very end. So again, 9 magma from those blocks, then connect it diagonally and fill it in. Since magma is basically impossible to count, here is a quick reference guide for you to take a screenshot of if you want. Once you get this platform finished, you are now totally done. So then come back to your scaffolding, and 2 blocks above our current platform, we're going to build another one. So 2 blocks of air in between all of the platforms. And just build this exactly the same. So everywhere that there is magma, place magma, and then everywhere that there is the bait trap thing, build another bait trap thing. Place your solid blocks and your slab, your trapdoor, your walls, your blocks, and your coral fans. Make sure that everything is perfectly aligned all the way down. Then keep building these all the way up until you have 12 platforms. That is basically the maximum size that we can build, is 12 of these platforms. So the tallest one will be at Y96 if you've been following along with the lava lake dimensions. And again, make sure that these holes go all the way down, that everything is perfectly aligned with each other. But now we need some kind of platform to give us some room to work with so that we can build the Trident killers. And of course, you also will need to pillar up in order to reach the bottom of the spawn platforms to start building the Trident killers. But now we need to surround our hole with either glass or solid blocks. I like using glass so that I can see the piggies falling into the kill chamber, but you can use solid blocks if you want to. But go down by 2 rows, then place 4 signs here in the center so that we can float lava on top of these signs. So the signs and our 2x2 hole will be perfectly aligned with this 3-block hole that we have going up. So just float your lava on top of the signs, like so. Now we need to place a dropper on all 4 corners facing any direction, it doesn't matter. Then place a solid block on the same side of each dropper. So if your solid block is on the left of the dropper, make sure it's to the left of every dropper on all 4 sides, because we need observers looking at the droppers, powering the blocks behind them so that it is a perfect circle. Then place regular pistons facing toward the inside underneath each of the 4 solid blocks, so they should all be perfectly offset. Then fill in the spaces with either glass or solid blocks, totally up to you, and then place some blocks here at the bottom. This could also be glass or solid, it really does not matter. But now we need to throw in a trident, so temporarily break out one of those blocks and throw a trident at one of the 4 pistons. And you can throw up to 4 tridents to slightly improve the efficiency and the rates. But if you don't have a ton of tridents, 1 trident is perfectly fine. But then place a lever on one of the droppers, turn that lever on, and then turn that lever off to make sure that the pistons are moving in a circular manner. And then do the same thing on the other side so that we have 2 trident killers. To build the collection system, on the middle front side, we're going to go down by 3 temporary blocks so that we can place 2 hoppers pointed toward the middle, and then 2 more hoppers pointed into those front ones, like so. Break out your temporary blocks, then place glass panes on the back 2 hoppers, place a rail, then a minecart with hopper, and push that toward the glass panes. And then do the same thing on the other side, so that both minecarts are above 2 of the hoppers. Then do the same thing over here. Now, if your rails aren't oriented in the correct direction, if they're sideways like this, just break out one of the glass and redirect the rail. Then replace the glass pane by breaking out the rail, place your minecart, and then push it like so. Now there are other ways that you could do a collection system. This is just a nice, safe way to do it so it doesn't skip any items or cause any problems. Now let's just connect these together so that they share a storage system. So aligned with the Y level of the hoppers, we're going to place some temporary blocks next to this scaffolding, just so we can place a hopper pointed forward, and then hoppers pointed into this hopper, connecting these 2 sides together, like so. And in the second half of the video, we'll talk more about your options for item sorters and storage systems. But you could always just throw a chest on this line and call it good. That's really up to you. But for now, we need to tie the redstone together and run it over to our AFK spot. So come back over here to your center 4 chunk corner markers, and right next to these, we need to go up by 26 scaffolding. So when we're standing on top, our Y coordinate will say 76. Now, directly above our center 4 markers, we need to place 4 blocks with 4 glass panes on top. The glass panes just make sure that you're AFKing in the correct place. We also need to make our AFK spot safe by surrounding it in glass or solid blocks. Just make sure it's spawn proof, so if you use solid blocks, throw some slabs on top. That way, whenever we come in here and AFK inside of our glass panes, ghasts and things don't blow us up. Now we need to be able to turn on and off our Trident killer from our AFK spot. So come over here to these frontmost corner droppers and connect them together with a line of glass. Then along the center, run glass over to our center scaffolding line. And now we just need to work our way up diagonally with glass and dust. Now in survival, you can just kind of jump on here, place glass, then dust on top, turn around, and repeat this process all the way up. And it's okay if this is in a slightly different place than you see here. It really doesn't matter. We're just going to connect a lever to the top of this dust. So wherever this dust is 1 block below the floor, switch that out for a solid block with a lever on top, so that the lever will power that dust. Turn on the lever, then come down to the bottom, and on the final active dust, so this one right here is the final active dust, we want that to be on a solid block. And now we're just going to pull power from that solid block using a repeater. A repeater can pull power from a weakly powered block that has redstone on top. And then just run dust from that repeater over to these droppers. Now we just need to refresh the signal using repeaters anytime that the redstone dies out. Now, it is probably a good idea to place a solid block with a slab on top, either before or after the repeater, because piggies can aggro you while you're AFK, and if they happen to fall onto this line, they would run over and be underneath you. This barrier will also block you as well, so it's really up to you when or if you want to add this. It's just kind of a fail-safe. But we do need another repeater to refresh the signal somewhere down here, and then break out these levers. But make sure they are being powered before you break them out, or else the Trident Killer will turn on, and if there's piggies in there, now all the piggies in the area will aggro you. But we also want to place a Sculk Catalyst 1 block above the floor, right underneath the center of the hopper line. This will get rid of all of the experience and cut down on lag. Just be sure to place a slab on top of that catalyst, or piggies could spawn on top of it. But now we just need to place in our turtle eggs on top of every slab, and then break out our scaffolding, and we will be totally done with one of the towers. So just go through and place an egg on every slab, then break out your scaffolding, and you are done. So if you want to leave it at one tower, you can just go ahead and build the collection system. Or if you want to double the rates and build 2 towers, they need to be built on opposite sides from each other, so straight across from each other. And if you want to build the max size version with 4 platforms, start off with the ones that are opposite from each other, then build the 3rd and 4th one off to the side. But now it's time to talk about the collection system. So especially if you're just going to have one platform, you can just build a basic storage system. I would recommend having 2 filters for each of the items, because they do like to skip because of all the swords that go through the system. But these are just standard filters. Now, one thing to mention is that piggies break the rules and they can spawn on top of redstone dust that is on top of solid blocks, those naughty piggies. So we do need to make sure to spawn-proof our item sorter. So just place lower slabs above any dust, like so. Or if you want the centralized storage system that I made specifically for this farm, we are going to need a 7x14 platform here in the center, and we need at least 2 blocks of clearance around this platform. So technically, the platform needs to at least be 11x18. Then place 3 double chests, 1 in the center, and then 2 1 block away from that on each side. And behind the rightmost chest, on the left side, we need to go up by 6 temporary blocks. Then toward the back, we need to place 4 hoppers that are all pointed into each other and into that block. And these hoppers should be at the exact same Y level as the ones over there. All of the hoppers should be aligned. But then pointing into the back one, we need to place 5 pointing into each other, going that way, 4 going this way, and then 5 going back over here. And the 5th one will replace that topmost temporary block, so that we are left with a ring of hoppers that are all pointed into each other in a circle. So this circle is going clockwise and is 6x5. Then here in the center, next to the 2 middle hoppers on the back, we need to place 2 solid blocks in the center like so. Then jump down here and place 4 more solid blocks in this pattern, then target blocks underneath these, then solid blocks diagonally down from those, and then diagonally up from those solid blocks. Then diagonally up from those, we need 2 glass, and then 6 dust here on the back. Now we need 2 comparators pointed into this dust, and these comparators are looking at the hoppers through those solid blocks. But then we need 2 redstone torches on the side of the targets. Then we need 2 double chests diagonally down from the hoppers aligned in the center, then a 3rd double chest here in the middle, and then hoppers pointed into the top 2 chests aligned with the redstone, then 2 hoppers pointed into this lower chest pulling from the upper ones, then 2 hoppers pointed down under this bottom chest going into blast furnaces. So 2 blast furnaces like so. This is your non-stackable item filter and your sword smelter. Then we need 2 hoppers pointed into the back of the furnaces and a double chest for our fuel. So your fuel will be placed inside of this chest. And you could always expand this and have like 2 double chests, 1 on top of each hopper if you want to have more fuel. But these do need to be blast furnaces to keep up with the rates. Come back over here to the front and place a 2nd double chest on top of the middle one. This is where our gold is going to be stored. But we need a hopper pointed into the back of both chests, then a hopper pointed into the top one, and an auto crafter that is facing up, so its mouth is pointed up into that hopper. Now we need a hopper pointed into the back of the crafter, then off to the side, and looping all the way around to be underneath your blast furnaces. So from the furnaces, it goes off to the right, then forward, then loops back around to the crafter. But now we need a solid block, then a comparator on subtraction mode looking at the crafter through that block, a piece of redstone dust going into a repeater, then a repeater going into that block, and a comparator going into the subtraction mode comparator. Then a dropper facing any direction next to that comparator with 5 non-stackable items. It doesn't matter what items, just 5 non-stackable items. Then place 5 dust looping around the dropper, connecting the 2 repeaters together. So this is what you should have. This will craft the nuggets into ingots. Then place a slab on top of the dropper to block spawns. Now we need some filters for the other items. So diagonally down from these front 3 hoppers here on the side, we need to place solid blocks so that the back 2 hoppers on the side don't have anything, just the front 3 here on this side. Then go down and over by more solid blocks, place some targets, then diagonally down, place some more blocks, diagonally up with more blocks, then place some glass right there, and dust in here on the back 3 rows. Then place 3 comparators pointed into the dust looking at those solid blocks, and redstone torches here on the sides of the targets. And now we need to build the same thing on the other side. And again, we're going to start with the front 3 hoppers here on the side. So the hoppers that are closest to those frontmost output chests. And these filters are built exactly the same as the non-stackable one. They are just built 1 block lower, so the comparators are not looking at the topmost hopper line, but are looking at these hoppers that we place right now. We need hoppers pointed into the block adjacent to the comparators on each side. Make sure those hoppers are pointed into the blocks. And don't forget to place torches on the side of the targets, but we need 2 double chests in front of the back 2 torches on each side, like so. Then we need to place 3 more double chests on top of these here on the side, so that the tower of chests ends up being diagonally down from the hopper pointed into the block. Now we need hoppers pointed down into these back 2 chests, under the hoppers pointed into blocks, and then hoppers pointed into the back of this tower of chests, so that it is also aligned with the topmost hopper that is pointed into the block. Now these chest towers here on the front are for your flesh, whereas the back 2 are for your nuggets and your ingots. So the back 2 need to be built like you see here, but these front towers, you could do it a different way if you want to load the flesh into shulkers or something like that, but these back 2 need to be connected to the crafter. So this front one just needs to connect to the hopper that the crafter is pointed into. So just 2 hoppers pointed forward. Then this back one needs to have a hopper pointed down into that hopper that is feeding the crafter, and then needs to just connect the chest to that hopper. Then same way on this side, we just need a hopper facing forward underneath both of the chests. Or this backmost one can just be pointed down into that line. But now we need to load our filters. Our filter hoppers are the ones up here that are pointed into the solid blocks. So these right here next to the comparators. So in the backmost one, this is for gold nuggets. So place at least 1 gold nugget in the first slot, and then 4 singular stackable to 64 items that will never be in the farm in the last 4 slots. Then the middle one is for ingots, so place at least 1 ingot in the first slot, then your 4 singular filler items in the last 4 slots, and this first one is for flesh, so at least 1 flesh in the first slot, then your 4 singular filler items that stack to 64. And do the same thing on the other side. So the front one is for flesh, and you will always have 41 of the item being sorted trapped in these filters. This makes it overflow protected so that they never break. So don't put in any extra filler items. You just need 4 singular filler items that stack to 64, 1 in each of the last 4 slots. And that's it. The basic design is now totally complete. So just go ahead and slab up any open solid block or above any of the dust that is on solid blocks to prevent spawns. Then to connect your collection systems to this item sorter, we need to place a hopper pointed into this hopper right here on the left, 1 block away from the filters on the left side, and this is for the left tower and the tower back here. Okay, so those 2 towers will connect to this hopper right there. But then for the right tower and the back tower, they need to connect right where this first filter is. So on this middle hopper here on the side, we need a hopper pointed into that one right above our first filter. And then we just run this over to our collection system for the farm. So all of these hoppers are pointed into each other. all the way over here to our Trident killers. So then we just need to break out some of these lines and switch the direction the hoppers are pointed so that the Trident killers are funneling into this line of hoppers, like so. So this one's flowing over here into this line, then this line is going all the way down and is run directly above our third filter, right there in the middle. And if you have a spawn tower on the back, same way, it will connect to this hopper right here. So this line of hoppers will be right next to the circle of hoppers, and you'll just connect this to the Trident killers, like we just did. Then on the other side, again, they need to connect to this hopper right here, right before your 3 filters, right here. So for the front tower, we would just run this straight across like so, and then connect this to the Trident killer output. Or for the left tower, again, we would connect it right there, going all the way straight across. So whichever towers you decide to build, just connect them accordingly. But now we have a couple of optional features for our blast furnace sword smelter. The first of which is for if you run out of fuel. We can have a sword disposal system so that items don't back up all the way down the line. So all we have to do to add a disposal system for if it runs out of fuel is break out the top 2 chests and these side hoppers right here, place 2 hoppers pointed into this bottom one here on the front, then place some temporary blocks here on the left side so that we can place 2 hoppers above these other ones pointed off to the left, and these hoppers will be pushing into a dropper pointed down. Now we need hoppers pointed into those hoppers like so that items get pushed forward, down, and then back into the chest. So now if the chest fills up, the hoppers pointed into the droppers will start successfully pushing swords into the dropper. But until then, they won't be able to push the swords into the dropper because the swords will get pulled out by the bottom hopper. But this dropper needs to be pushing into fire or lava, so just make a little container to hold the lava or fire. And now we need to build a little platform to make a clock. So build this out of glass so that it's spawn proof, but we need a comparator on subtraction mode looking at the dropper, going into a repeater, then a repeater going the other direction next to that one, then redstone dust connecting the repeaters together, connecting that repeater to the top of the dropper and the side of the comparator, like so. So now anytime that swords enter this dropper, they will get spit out into your lava or your fire. And now if you're like me and you want to use lava as your fuel source, we actually need to change something, because the buckets will follow the nuggets out of the output and end up over here in your crafter. And we don't want that, that would be annoying. So we need to build an item filter to either pull out the buckets or pull out the nuggets. However, if we just do this normally, we'd have to go lower, and we don't want to do that either. So we need to break out these hoppers right here, and we can break out these as well and switch that to be pointed forward just to save a hopper. But now 2 blocks to the right and 1 block back from the furnaces, we need to place a solid block. So right there. Now we need 3 more solid blocks going off in this kind of Tetris shape, then 1 block back there, then a glass right there, 1 block above the floor, 3 dust, and a comparator like so. Now a redstone torch on the side of this bottom block right here, then a hopper pointed into the topmost block, make sure that hopper is pointed into the block, then 2 hoppers under that pointed off to the one under the chest. Now here in the front, we need 2 droppers pointed up, and then a hopper above those droppers pointed into the hopper that is pointed into the block. So the 2 on this side are pointed into the hopper under this chest that is feeding into the crafter. Now inside of the hopper that is pointed into the block, this one right here, we need to place in nuggets in the first slot, and then singular stackable to 64 items in the last 4 slots. That will filter out the gold and send it to the crafter. Now we need to power the droppers. So place a comparator looking at the bottom dropper on subtraction mode, then a repeater off to the side, then 2 repeaters, 1 facing into the side of the comparator and 1 into the side of the dropper. Then 4 dust like so. So this will power the dropper elevator as items enter it. So buckets will get stuck in this top hopper, and they will build up in this top hopper for you to collect. And 5 stacks of 16 is quite a lot of buckets. That's more buckets than a full double chest of lava, so just be sure to pull out your empty buckets from that hopper from time to time. Also be sure to light up your redstone, especially when it comes to redstone torches. Light update lag is a major cause of lag, so just spam some torches around your redstone. And that is it, we are now totally done. So whether or not you included the optional features, we do need to surround this in some sort of protection. You know, you wouldn't want gas to blow up your redstone. So build a glass box or build a house out of solid blocks. Either way, just be sure to spawn proof it. And again, be sure to spawn proof your redstone since piggies are naughty and can spawn on top of dust. But thankfully, at least they can't spawn on top of glass or slabs. A few final things to note when it comes to using this farm is that occasionally you will notice that a piggy is aggroing you and is just kind of standing on the edge trying to get to you. Now they will eventually despawn or target an egg, and thankfully this doesn't cause many problems because the nether mob cap is so high. Now if you see pigs just wandering around the spawn platform, not aggroing you or anything, it could be that one of the eggs got broken. So on the bottom 3 layers, it is possible for a baby pig to glitch onto the platform. And even the times that I saw a baby pig glitch onto the egg platform, it just immediately jumped into the hole and didn't actually break the egg. But just because of how the bait traps have to be for the pathfinding, it is possible. So if you notice that pigs are just standing around and not aggroing anything, just go ahead and check the eggs on that layer to make sure they are both still there. And if you need turtle eggs or coral fans or potions or tridents or iron or any of the other stuff that could make this farm easier to build, I will link all of these videos in the video description and here on the screen as well. Now I did want to talk a little bit more about the pending tick issue that you get from portal ticking gold farms, but this video is getting super duper long and I don't want to take up any more of your time. So if you're interested about it and you want to know more, just hit me up in the comments and I would be more than happy to discuss it. Don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe. Be sure to leave a comment, even if it's just to say hi. Always remember that you are totally awesome, and above all, don't forget to have fun. Bye bye!